Okay, we'll be starting the meeting in 2 minutes, please. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Police Services Board meeting for Thursday, June 28th. Right off the bat, I have to say, before we begin the public meeting, I would like to remind everyone in attendance that the Police Service Board meeting is live streamed, and the video recording of today's meeting will be posted on YouTube. So, can I have any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest of the board? I see none. Minutes of the previous meeting, I'll move them in block, please. Item 110 to 112. Can I mover and seconder for that, please? Member Stewart, Member Caslin. Any comments or questions on the previous minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Reports from the board chairperson. Excuse me, right off the bat. Saturday, June 16th, the motorcycle ride for dad was held in help for prostate cancer, and I'm going to turn to Vice Chair Ganzel to comment on this, please.
Thank you, Chair, and just a few comments on that. It was actually a great day. It was not humid. We had 198 motorcycles out, went from Niagara Lake through Niagara Falls, down to Fort Erie, Port Colborne, back through the Niagara Regional Police Association for lunch, through the vineyards of Vineland and Beamsville, and back to Niagara Falls. It was a good event, finished up around 2:30, and I was glad to participate. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. My notes will be short today, which I imagine will make everybody happy. The Regional Municipality of Niagara NRPS Joint Facilities Steering Committee meeting was held on June 11th. Vice Chair Ken Ganzel and attended the Joint Regional Police Facility Steering Committee meeting for discussion on police facility matters. Vice Chair Ganzel regularly attends these monthly meetings in his role as Chair of the Board's Accommodation Committee. Do you wish to comment on that?
Thank you, Chair. Now, things are moving slowly, but they are moving forward.
Moving in the right direction is good. Okay, the upcoming PSB meetings, the upcoming committee meetings are scheduled to be held on Thursday, July 12th, and the regular monthly board meeting will be held on Thursday, July 26th. The meetings will start at 8:30 here in the community room at the police headquarters. Next, I have reports from the Chief. Thank you. Chief, we're going to tie in the presentation, item 113, for the Pro-Action Cops for Kids to your communication here. Is that advisable?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, can I have a mover and seconder for item 113, and then we'll put it all together? Vice Chair Ganzel and Member Stewart. Chief, thank you.
So just on that, would you like me to do my announcements first, and then we'll do the presentation?
Whatever you'd like to do is fine with me.
All right, well, we'll do that, and then
sure.
I'll
no, I agree with that. That was my point. I just wanted to tie in that to our report. Thank you.
Very good, thanks. So the first issue I want to talk about is on June 14th, 2018, Bill C-211 received royal assent and became law in Canada. The bill requires the federal government to work alongside with provinces and territories and members of the medical community to create a federal framework within 18 months to fully address PTSD from recognizing symptoms to treatment. Bill C-211 was created in response to the high number of suicides among people with PTSD, and the framework will assist police officers, paramedics, firefighters, nurses, military members, and corrections officers who deal with PTSD as a result of the work that they perform. On June 13th, prior to Bill C-211 being passed, our very own Constable Phil Sheldon accepted an invitation to represent not only the Niagara Regional Police Service, but police services from across Canada to speak with Conservative MP Todd Doherty in Ottawa to discuss Bill C-211. Phil, alongside a provincial firefighter, spoke with the MP for considerable time, and Phil's discussions greatly enhanced both the understanding and the need for provincial and federal funding surrounding PTSD and first responders. Thanks to the combined efforts of MP Doherty, Phil, Sheldon, and the firefighter, the bill was passed by the Senate the following day, which was in its third and final reading. Phil, as you recall, was the officer that was involved in that horrific incident that happened out in Vineland with the fire and explosion in the house. So Phil was extremely excited to be a part of this process and describes it as the biggest and most rewarding thing that he has ever been fortunate enough to be a part of. MP Doherty personally invited Phil and his family to the House of Commons on Sunday, the Sunday following his trip to Ottawa, for a personal tour of the Parliament buildings, and there was a possibility that Prime Minister Trudeau and his family were also going to join them. But more than anything, Phil was ecstatic that he was permitted to wear his #1 dress to proudly represent the Niagara Regional Police Service, and I personally couldn't be prouder of his efforts. Phil is a remarkable man who has courageously battled both physical and psychological trauma, and we're all thrilled that he was able to attend Parliament Hill to represent the interests of all first responders right across Canada. I'll move next to an incident that happened on Friday, June the 15th. Constable Trevor Janice was on duty in uniform patrol in one district in St. Catharines, was on an unrelated call but was actively listening to his police radio. Upon hearing an assist ambulance call for service involving a 3-month-old baby who had stopped breathing and was turning blue in close proximity to his location, he quickly responded to the address. Upon arriving at the scene, knowing that the elevator in the building would take too long, he ran up the stairs and was the first responder to arrive. He was met by a frantic mother holding a 3-year-old baby girl. He quickly reacted to taking a hold of the baby and calmly assessed the baby was not breathing. He administered 4 back thrusts to the baby. The action caused thick saliva to exit the baby's throat and mouth, which opened her airway and allowed the baby to breathe again. According to the mother, the baby was born 26 weeks premature in March, and she was just recently released from the hospital. Due to the immediate response of Constable Janice and his calm demeanor, quick actions, and reliance on first aid and CPR training that he had received here with the service, there's no doubt his actions contributed to the life-saving efforts of the baby. Constable Janice has been nominated to receive a Chief's Commendation Award, and that will go before the Awards Committee. So another good news story there. Just with respect to homicides, in the reporting period of May 28th to June 26th, we did not have any homicides. So far in 2018, we have 2 homicides that have occurred in the calendar year. Comparatively, we had 3 in 2017 for all of 17, and 1 in 16, and then 6 in 2015. So we'll hope that trend continues. There was 1 fatal traffic collision in the region during the reporting period, and 1 life-threatening motor vehicle collision that occurred in May, which brings the total number thus far this year to 7 fatal collisions and 7 life-threatening collisions that we have attended. A little bit about that fatal collision. We responded to reports of a pedestrian being struck by a motor vehicle on St. Paul Street near 7th Street Louth in the city of St. Catharines. This was on Thursday, May the 10th. Initial investigation revealed that a 33-year-old Ajax male was on St. Paul Street West in the pouring rain when he was struck by a motor vehicle traveling westbound that was being driven by a 32-year-old male from St. Catharines. The pedestrian suffered life-threatening injuries and was transported to a local hospital before being pronounced. And that collision remains under investigation by the coroner's office and our collision reconstruction unit. A couple of items in the news. On June 6th, 2018, 2 men are facing charges in connection with a human trafficking investigation in the city of Niagara Falls. On Sunday, May 27th, a female attended 2-district front desk here in Niagara Falls to report that she had been brought to the Niagara region for the purpose of trafficking, or of human trafficking. Detectives from our morality unit, along with 2-district uniform officers, launched an investigation that found the female had been transported here from Barrie and forced to participate in the sex trade. Our officers subsequently arrested and charged a 43-year-old male from Barrie with various human trafficking-related offenses. On May 30th, 2018, we received a residential break-and-enter complaint from the Western Hill area of St. Catharines. It was reported that several high-end bicycles were stolen from an attached garage. In total, the value was in excess of $31,000 due to the quality and custom nature of these bicycles. Later on May 30th, 2018, investigators from the 1 District Detective Office were following up on an unrelated investigation at a townhouse complex located at 10 Wellstead Drive in St. Catharines. And during that time, it was determined that 3 adult males at this location were in possession of the stolen property from the above-mentioned break-and-enter, and they've all been charged and arrested accordingly. A search warrant was executed, and some of the bicycles were recovered from that original break-and-enter complaint. Just with regards to the upcoming Cops for Cancer initiative, the impact of cancer on the life of a child and their family is devastating. To support those in the community touched by this disease, the Niagara Regional Police Service, Hamilton, Niagara Royal Canadian Mounted Police Detachment, the Niagara Emergency Medical Service are proud to announce that we're partnering with the Canadian Cancer Society for the inaugural Cops for Cancer Tour de Golden Horseshoe. The Tour de Golden Horseshoe is a fundraising event through which law enforcement and emergency services personnel will cycle 400 kilometers across Niagara region from September 18th to 21st to engage communities in raising money for childhood cancer research and support services for the Canadian Cancer Society. Funds raised through the tour will support world-class research that is helping to save and improve the lives of children locally and right across the country, in addition to support services such as Wheels of Hope, which helps patients and their families get to cancer treatment appointments. So we have about a dozen members of the service, along with Board Member Caslin, who are participating in the ride. Hope to be a very successful event, which we hope to raise $130,000 as a result of this initiative. Great community initiative, and we're looking forward to that. We'll keep you apprised of any future fundraising initiatives that are going on as a result of that. I just want to provide an update. You'll recall back on Friday, June the 18th, members of the Niagara Regional Police Service, the incident originally occurred on May the 18th, 2018, within the Urgent Care Center at the Douglas Memorial site in the town of Fort Erie. And on Friday, June 18th, members of the Niagara Regional Police Service arrested a male in relation to the stabbing that occurred at the hospital and the subsequent police-involved shooting. A 29-year-old Fort Erie male has been charged with attempted murder and assault with a weapon, and that investigation remains under investigation by the Ontario Special Investigations Unit. And in early 2018, members of the Guns, Gangs, and Grow Unit and the Opioid Unit initiated an investigation into a mobile drug dealer in the Niagara region. As a result of that investigation, on Monday, June 18th, police obtained 2 search warrants, one for a motor vehicle and one for a residence in Brampton. And at approximately 4 p.m., with the assistance of our morality unit, the intelligence unit, and our St. Catharines Street Crime Unit, the vehicle in question was stopped. The accused was arrested along with the assistance of our tactical unit. Police conducted a search of the accused vehicle and found hidden in a sock behind the glove box 36 grams of fentanyl and a loaded .380 semi-automatic handgun. We then executed a search warrant at the residence in Brampton, where another 31 grams of fentanyl were located and seized. The value of the fentanyl was seized was over $20,000, and we certainly know the impact of getting that fentanyl off the street and the lives that no doubt were saved as a result of that seizure. And I just want to talk about a community partnership regarding local youth in the community with regards to a partnership with Tim Hortons stores to promote youth helmet safety. During the summer months, a number of officers have been provided with $3 gift cards from Tim Hortons. I have one of those here, which I'll have Deputy Flynn hand around to the board. Gift cards may be given by an officer to young persons that they observe wearing a helmet while taking part in activities such as cycling, skateboarding, rollerblading, just to name a few. The positive ticketing campaign will add some initiative for youth to be helmet-wise and reduce needless head injuries. Under the Highway Traffic Act of Ontario, persons 16 years and under are required to wear helmets while riding a bicycle, and parents and guardians who fail to ensure that their child is wearing a helmet are subject to a fine of $75. The Niagara Regional Police Service would certainly like to thank Jeanette Smith and Tim Hortons for providing us with those gift cards for this very valuable campaign. And those are my comments with regards to my report.
Thank you, Chief. The next item is such good news with the Pro Action Cops for Kids. Can we ask you questions about some of the negativity items that you had there? If any of the board members do, I do. Does any board members have any questions for the Chief on what he said? You don't? Okay. First off, Chief, you mentioned about the human trafficking with the girl or lady from Barrie. I've heard this too many times as chair of the board and as well as our board. And maybe you want to talk to me in confidential, but are we satisfied? I don't get paid enough not to give comments on this, and it's disgusting. So are we satisfied with the laws of our society for when these guys are caught and convicted? And maybe you don't want to answer that, and I understand if you don't to me now, but I'll take it in confidential if I have to, because I don't mind speaking out on behalf of the board, with the board's permission, to the province to say that they have to get tougher on this type of item.
Well, what I can say is the federal government has certainly taken a tighter stance on these types of crimes. They have Crown attorneys now that are specifically dedicated to prosecuting these specific crimes. They're very difficult cases for a variety of reasons. The trauma that's impacted upon the victims is horrific. It's difficult for us to gather evidence in many cases. We really do require the cooperation of people. In many cases, there are people who are aware that this type of activity is going on, and I would strongly encourage members to report those incidents directly to us, or they can go through Crime Stoppers if they wish to provide us with tips and information that will allow us to be able to investigate these heinous crimes. And I can assure you that we do investigate them aggressively each and every time that we get information about them. But as I mentioned, for a variety of reasons, they're very, very difficult to gain sufficient evidence to be able to prosecute them. But we do work very diligently to do so.
So there are certain crimes that we all know that society won't tolerate, period. This is one of them. So I'd like to talk to you down the way, have a meeting with you with the vice chair or whatever, and see if we're doing enough from our standpoint as a police board, speaking out to the government and saying, you know, we're doing our part in arresting these people. Let's keep them off the streets. So if you don't mind. Second, Constable Janice and Constable Sheldon, nothing but good news stories.
Absolutely.
Down the way, if we can see them, and I'll leave that up to you. I understand what's going on, but nothing but good news on this. You might be, we might see them at the next awards banquet or something, but I'd like this board to be able to see them too, but it's subject to Constable Sheldon's health and things like this. The good of Tim Hortons, you're sending a note saying thank you for that, because I know you asked me to contact Constable Quirk because he was asking about what we're doing for kids wearing helmets and that. I take it you're following that up?
Yes, we are, yes.
Thank you for that. And last but not least, this bicycle ride. Is this the one where Chair Caslin is going to be riding 400 kilometers in 4 days?
That's correct, yes.
Ouch.
So we can not expect him at the meeting after that. Chief, are you riding in this one?
I'm participating in one of the celebrity rides. I'm not
Participating doesn't cut it, sir.
I am riding in one of the celebrity rides, which is not the full 400
Celebrity
kilometers.
ride. Thank you.
Both somebody's got to stay back and run the ship here.
Oh, yeah, there has to be a boss.
Both deputies are participating in the full event. So.
Very good, thank you. Okay, if you don't mind going on with the next group, please.
Absolutely. Just want to introduce Ruth Newesteg and Sergeant Rich Gadro from Pro Action Cops and Kids. Ruth is the president of our local, or chair of our local chapter for Pro Action Cops and Kids. I know the board is aware of the partnership that we've had with Pro Action Cops and Kids. It's been a very fruitful partnership, and we're seeing the results of that with providing tremendous mentoring opportunities for youth in our community. So, two of our officers who are in attendance, and I won't steal Sergeant Gadro's thunder here, but they recently received an award in Toronto from Pro Action Cops and Kids, and without further ado, I'll have Ruth and Sergeant Rich Gadro come forward and provide some information on that.
Thank you very much, and anybody in Niagara Falls knows it's Ruth Ann. So, Ruth, yeah, that's okay. Thank you very much. Just push the button if you can, Ruth Ann, there, and the floor is yours, madam.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As you know, my name is Ruth Ann, and I have the great honor of chairing Pro Action Cops and Kids. Along with my fellow board members, our role with Pro Action is to raise funds to support officer-driven led programs. And if it wasn't for, it doesn't matter how much money our board raises, if it wasn't for the hard work, the dedication, the energy, the efforts of our officers who go above and beyond their normal job, we would be raising money for nothing. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all our officers who have that commitment and want to make our community better by reaching out to kids and making a difference in their life. We have quantifiable goals, of course, as a board, but our qualitative goal amongst our board members, we say if we can just save one child's life or turn that one child's life into a better way, then everything we've done is worth it. So we measure it just by the impact of kids. I'd also, as being, we're very privileged, Pro Action is just one of 5 chapters in the entire province, and we would like to thank Chief McCullough for supporting and his leadership, and he has directly participated with us, so we thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure working alongside Sergeant Gautreau with Pro Action. So we've teamed up together, and it's been a wonderful partnership. There we go. And I'd like to turn it over to Sergeant.
Morning, Chair Gale, members of the board, Chief McCullough, the deputies. It's my pleasure this morning, as the chief mentioned, and Ruth Ann as well. We have 2 police officers that were recognized by the Pro Action Board in Toronto last month, as well as a student participant of one of the programs. Unfortunately, the student is here, but I will speak about him a bit later. These 2 officers played significant roles in developing programs that have just been significant to many young people in the region. First, I'd like to call on Constable Sean Sandell. He was recognized for his outstanding leadership and commitment to the Mediba Adventure Camp program. I'm sure you've heard of our Mediba Camp. Every May for the past 5 years, we've taken up to 50 teenagers from every high school across the province to Camp Mediba in Haliburton, which is a leadership development camp. And the students that are chosen for this program are the ones that are marginalized, easily overlooked, and often bullied, and that would really benefit from 3 days of being pushed outside of their comfort zone, getting a chance to develop their own leadership skills and to find their own voice. This program has been really significant in its impact, and Constable Sandell has been the pivotal key to the development of this program the last 3 years, and his tireless efforts have made sure that the program, which you can imagine the logistics between identifying 50 kids from every high school, getting the transportation, going up to Haliburton, everything going off flawlessly, has been fantastic. And even this year, even though he couldn't join us because of his broken leg, all of his planning and his tireless efforts prior to us leaving made sure that the trip was a success. So on behalf of Pro Action Cops and Kids, I just want to congratulate Sean Sandell. Thanks, Rick. Good job.
Councilor Sandell, would you like to say something? Sure. Please.
Wasn't prepared to speak, but yeah, this is a great honor. I love doing Camp Madiba. I'm hoping to develop some more Pro Action Cops and Kids programs. The Madiba thing is, I've already started preparing for 2019, the week after, even though I haven't been, I just got back to work. It's a long process. Without Pro Action, we wouldn't be able to do it. They give us, I think I spent about $9,500 in 2.5 days. And that doesn't even include the cost of the kids. The school boards pick up the tab for that. So just the buses and everything like that. And Chief McCullough, everyone's been great. The officers that volunteer are awesome. I had to turn down a number of officers on their days off to come because there was too many. We're going to have, it was going to be a 2-to-1 ratio. So I think that's a testament to all the SROs and the NRP and Pro Action development of this program, and it's been great. And you know, we're trying to expand it a little bit, but we kind of found out that 50 is a perfect number because it gets a little hectic. But that's it. Thank you very much.
Please, thank you. Please stay there in case anybody from the board has any comments or questions. Go ahead.
Can you tell us a little bit about the activities that take place at the camp?
Okay, it's high ropes. There's a zip line. It's called a big swing. That's the only thing I've actually done myself. I'm not a big heights person. They pull you up in a harness about the height of the top of a telephone pole, and then let you go, and you just swing back and forth. There's team building, there's the hangle ropes, what else? Rock climbing, there's a number of different things. And also on the way up, the team building with the kids starts in the buses. So we stop at Weber's on the way up. We pay for that, and the kids love that. A lot of kids that haven't never, you know, most of us all know what Weber's is, and those kids don't know what that is. And then once we get there, the staff at Camp Madiba is awesome. And they, you know, there's other places around that are a lot closer, but they treat us so well there that we love going back there. And then we have the second night, second night we have a pizza party too. So we buy pizza for them. We go around the campfire. We encourage, the last 3 years, we've really encouraged to be around the campfire. Someone usually plays a guitar. Kids are singing, and I guess this last one, month ago, they had all the kids there, all around one fire. And in 2017, last year, it actually snowed that night in May. So
Sounds like a lot of fun.
oh yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I understand there's another officer coming up, but I don't want you going back because we'll want a picture with them all. If you want to grab that chair, please. Are you okay there?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, go ahead, Phil.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have 2 awards. We actually have one for Officer Dennis Andre, if you'd like to come up here. And then for the youth, it's Mustafa Ahmed, which was one of the youth from his program. Constable Dennis Andre actually took a program that had existed for 1 year before. It was the Niagara Life Skills Culinary Program. And Constable Dennis Andre, even though most of the school resource officers just attend high schools, had begun a couple years prior attending and building a relationship with the staff and the students at the Niagara Islamic School, and just showing up and talking and, you know, exposing them to the value of a friendly police officer and the interactions with police officers for young people. He then saw the quality of the program the first year that the Niagara Life Skills Culinary Program operated, and he adopted it himself and then ran it for the Niagara Islamic School. And he's done it for last spring and last fall. Now, as a result of that, in the school, as you can imagine, a lot of these children had very little contact with police. And as a smaller segment of our population, The work he's done to build bridges and to represent the service in a positive light, and policing as a profession in a positive light, has been phenomenal. And for that reason, Constable Dennis was recognized for his efforts and his leadership with the Niagara Life Skills Culinary Program. Dennis
So would he like to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that Dennis is going to be presenting the student through the School of the Day Award.
The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank ProAction for continuing their partnership with Niagara Regional Police and their continued support that helps programs to connect the police with the youth in our community. I'm humbled to be even considered for an award in any way, as I feel like I'm the one who's been rewarded throughout this program. As Rich had said, I've been connected with the Niagara Islamic School for the past several years and have enjoyed building the friendships with the staff and the students there. In fact, I was just there a couple weeks ago, and a young girl came up to me and gave me a big hug while I was in uniform. It was pretty touching for me as well when that happened. In talking with Lisa Stevens, the school's director, and having borrowed the idea from Staff Sergeant Weeks, I was able to find a hands-on approach with interacting with the kids at the school there. I said, to be completely honest, it was my love of food, especially my love of eating food, that made this program exciting for me. But while it continued, I personally saw the growth within the school, within several students who were noticed by the school as well. I recognize that cooking it doesn't fall within everyone's comfort zone, as was the case for some of the students who took a little more encouragement to get involved. But I felt that building these relationships, that we have so much to give and so much to learn from each other as well. And again, I'm humbled by this recognition, so thank you.
Thank you. So does anybody on the board have any questions or comments? So I'd like to get a picture. Phil, are you all done with your talk yourself?
There is the awards to present for.
Oh, okay, please, go ahead.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
So one of the students who was identified throughout the program was Mustafa Ahmed. He was going to be coming here today. Just some time got switched up, but unfortunately he is still on his way, so he'll be taking a picture later. But so just in recognizing what he's done, when we first were involved, I was just coming to the school doing presentations at the school, and I noticed him a little bit pulled back, but and didn't want to get completely engaged. Was maybe a little anxious around me at first. Interacted with him a lot. Told him about the cooking program. He says, "Yeah, okay, I'll come." And he did. And then school ended, and then the program started, and he was not there anymore. Then next week I said, "Hey, I missed you last week. What happened?" He's like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll come today." And then again, didn't come. I says, "Oh, you'll enjoy it. Come on in." And so then the next week he came, and he was hands-on, elbows deep in chicken, and it was just awesome to see. Even in the last event, again, much more involved than I ever thought he was ever going to be. So I submitted him forward for a youth award for the ProAction. And we have the school's director, Lisa Stevens, is here, and I'd like to just give it to her on his behalf until he arrives. And I believe Lisa has a few words to say as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dennis.
Welcome, Lisa, please.
Thank you very much for inviting us here today. It's our pleasure to come and receive this award. Mustafa will be here shortly, I hope, so he can take a picture with Dennis in his best uniform. I cannot say enough good things about this ProAction program and the benefits that it has had for our students and our school as a whole. Dennis, when he comes in, he makes a statement. So it wasn't only the small group of children that he interacted with in terms of the cooking program. He's become a familiar face in the school with our staff and all of our students, and he sometimes gets mobbed when he comes in with our kids. It was just a wonderful, beautiful program to have the children interact with the officers, Dennis and the other officers that came, and just to see those barriers fall away, as they got involved with the cooking process and having the meal after and having real conversations with the officers, it made a huge difference. And on a serious note, I don't know if I've even spoken to Dennis about this, but we have in the Muslim community in the Niagara region, we have quite a large Sudanese and Somali community. And as the principal, I'm also still a teacher there at the school. the kids have conversations with us, and they watch the news, and we have, of course, the current affairs program in our English program. So around the time Dennis introduced this idea to us, some of our African-American students were having some apprehension about the policing and issues that were going on in the United States with the African-American community. And so they were showing some tension about that, and they had some comments and concerns. And really, on that level, this program has been hugely successful. And sometimes, you know, a grade 7 or 8 can't really understand the different nuances between maybe American policing situations and Canadian. So it was just instrumental in knocking down those misconceptions that maybe were building in their minds. And really, I hope it continues this program. It was just an honor to be involved in it, and I can't thank Dennis enough. Dennis was hands-on every week that we did it. He was there. We went to either Food Basics together or Fresh Go, did the shopping. Every detail was taken care of by Dennis, and really he is very deserving of this award. And I just thank the Niagara Regional Police and the ProAction group for such a wonderful program. Thank you very much.
So please don't sit down yet. Thank you for your comments and that. It's hard to believe an officer that's 6'100" would be mobbed, but I would like to see that if you ever can take a picture of it. We know that in Toronto they cut back on school officers and that. There is no intentions of this board. We understand the value of education at our schools. It's never come up. Don't ever fear that, unless everything dries up in the world, but regardless on that. Next, with Cops for Kids, and I thank you, Ruth Ann. I was at a Rotary meeting in Chippewa where you spoke so highly of the chief and the interactions with the chief for Cops for Kids. Chief, I want to let you know that, and we salute you on your, you do a lot for the community, so we appreciate that on it. Does anybody from the board have any questions right now? Okay, how soon will this other person be here? Because we'd like a picture with all of you here, and I don't want to, can we wait? Or do you have time?
I'm expecting any minute. I'm hoping, yeah.
Okay, may I ask you to sit down? We'll continue the meeting. As soon as he shows up, hold up your hand or whatever, we'll get you up here for a picture.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Okay. So, Chief, you're done all your presentation, are you?
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, we are. So we're going off the agenda right now because we have an officer here on his day off on another good news item, but in new business item number 146, which is a special fund donation request, a powerlifting World Masters Championship. Detective Sergeant Steve Magistrate is here. Steve, I'd like you to come to the podium, but can I have a mover and seconder on this item first, please? Member Caslin, Member Ganzel. Steve, if you don't mind, come on up and you can just explain. The motion is that the board approve a donation of $500 from the special fund to help offset the expenses incurred by the detective while participating in the 2018 Powerlifting World Masters Championships competition. I know you weren't prepared for a speech, but we demand it, and I hate to demand a person that could, well, like you. Thank you.
Well, I just want to thank the opportunity for coming here and speaking, you know, regarding the sport. First of all, my name is Steve Magistrelli, and I've been a member of the Niagara Regional Police Service for 17 years. I currently work at the 1 District Detective Office in St. Catharines. So on top of my policing experience, I've been a competitive powerlifter for the past 20 years. And from meager beginnings, you know, just keep with a strong work ethic, I've now come to the part of my lifting career where I'm a 10-time Ontario champion and a 5-time national champion. My most recent national championships was in Calgary in February, where I took the gold again, and then allowed me the opportunity to join Team Canada on the Masters World Championships being held in Mongolia in October. The first week in October. So it's just it's an amazing experience. Every time I compete at a contest, For years now, I've been recognized on the platform as a member of the Niagara Regional Police Service. They seem to find it interesting to make that point well known as I'm competing against others. And I'm sure that that will be carried on to the world stage, where, again, I'll be recognized not only as a member of Team Canada, but a member of the Niagara Regional Police Service. It just seems to be a bit of an interest for all announcers at the contest that, you know, some cop is here competing against the rest of the world. So I will be doing my best. It does take a village to raise a champion, so I'm very glad to have the Niagara Regional Police as part of my village. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. I pronounced your name wrong. I apologize at the end, Magistrali. And that, comments? Member Castellan?
Yeah, thank you. Steve, I apologize. I came in so fast because I was late. I didn't recognize you in the crowd. So Steve and I have crossed paths a few times in our careers, and congratulations on what you've done. You've come a long way since the YMCA.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Steve, are you a born and raised St. Catharines boy?
No, but I've been in the Niagara region for about almost 20 years.
Very good. Vice Chair Ganzel.
Yes, thank you very much. And for you, Chair, congratulations on this. Mongolia is an exciting spot. If you have the opportunity, take the train from Beijing. It's an experience. Anyway, good luck, and thank you for representing the service in good light.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Carried. Chief, do you have something to say to it? Go for it.
Yes, thanks. As an accomplished power lifter as Steve is, I just would want to comment on the value that he brings to the service as well. Steve is an incredibly gifted and dogged investigator with the service, does outstanding work. And I'm sure Deputy Flynn and all of the superintendents here would echo those comments. We're extremely fortunate to have somebody that's as skilled and valued within the organization, and going out into the community and representing the Niagara Regional Police Service is a perfect fit. So thank you.
Thank you. And on that, it's a public agenda item. There's pictures on there. Deb, do they get the pictures? Are they made to the media? And that? Okay, I hope that anybody in the media or anybody watching this will look at the pictures that are with this agenda item to see you sitting there and how, I'll say it nicely, how massive you are with lifting these weights and that. So please, all I ask is that we hear the results. When is this Mongolia trip?
October. My day of competition is October the 6th.
Please let us know the results through the chief, if you don't mind.
I will. Excellent.
Congratulations. Thank you. I'm going to ask for a picture, Steve, with the board here. Come on up, will you please? Chief, can I have you in the picture too? Okay, we're going to move to consent agenda items. I'd like to move them all in block, and then we'll do our usual questioning on each one, or whatever ones you wish. Items number 114 to items number 141, please. Can I have a mover and seconder on this? Member Stewart, Member Castellan. Who wants to be the first to go on this? Member Stewart, which item, please?
Thank you, Chair. And it's item 131. That's the traffic management, enforcement, and road safety.
Okay.
Just a question or perception through you to the chief. On page 7 of that report, there's a chart with the ride program comparisons. And I think it's good news is that, you know, where vehicles stopped is almost doubled from previous years, and yet the number of roadside tests, suspensions, and whatever is not doubled. And I'm wondering, does that show us a good sign that maybe people are getting it and we're having a lower percentage of people driving impaired? Like I'm looking at this as possible good news, or is there another reason that that's happened?
No, I think you're exactly right. Through you, Mr. Chair, I think it's a good news story, and what we've seen and continue to see out on the roads is that the younger generation, in particular, they get it, and they routinely appoint somebody as a designated driver, and those are the people that we're seeing when they're doing the traffic stops. It's the young people. Unfortunately, if you look at the names and the ages of the individuals that are arrested in our media releases for impaired driving, they tend to be the middle-aged community that are picked up in some of those ride programs. So it is a good news story that the numbers of people that we're stopping are increasing, and the numbers have really remained pretty consistent in terms of the number of people that we're arresting.
And further through you, Chair, just as a comment on that with the making public the charges or whatever it is, my son, who's 27, points out to me regularly, you know, Dad, there's very few people my age on that list. And maybe through education and things that have happened through policing, through schools and whatever have really began to have an impact. And as you say, they plan well. And also a special credit, I know my son and his friends use that designated driver program. So they feel they could drive out, and if they're out having a party somewhere, somebody comes and drives their car home with them, and they're all getting home safe. And as a parent, that's probably the most important thing that we look for, is getting them home safe. And you know, they're allowed to have some fun, but they respect the rules of the road, and I think that's terrific. And I'm glad that you saw it the same way I did. I think this is a good positive sign.
Anybody have any questions on item 131? Member Stewart, you still have the floor. Do you have anything else? Member Ganzel.
Thank you, Chair. And through you on item 116. This is the crime prevention overview. Just a comment on page number 5 under the Lock It and Lose It for Niagara Lake. That was with the assistance of the Niagara Lake Community Safety Committee, which still is alive and well in the Niagara region, similar to Port Colborne. And I think we are the longest community safety committee in the region. So just wanted to add that to the list, seeing I sit on that committee. Vested interest.
Any other comments on item 116? Go ahead.
Thank you. Item... No, I got them done. Item number 127, which deals with the acoustical hailing device. I just wanted to point out that of the 3 incidents that are referenced here on page 4, excellent use of the device, exactly as it was intended for, and good to see that it's being used appropriately within the region by the service. So I thank the service for that.
Thank you. I'll be sure to pass that on to our tactical team.
Any other comments on 127? Go ahead, Ken.
This is item number 138, deals with youth crime. Just to point out on page number 6, and maybe a follow-up of some of the comments on pro-action, cops and kids, so I didn't really comment as much there. I think the decrease that takes place in 2013 with the introduction of the school resource officers shows the value of that program, and certainly as a board member and vice chair of this board, encourage the service to maintain that at its fullest level of complement and From a personal perspective, would love to see that program expanded to more schools. Just looking at these numbers and hearing from the presentations this morning, the SRO program is something that is paying back to us in spades. And from a community perspective, I think it's something that should be supported and move forward as expeditiously and financially as we can muster. So thank you on that one again.
Through you, Chair, just to echo on those comments, certainly the feedback that we've gotten both from the students, from school board officials, from members of the community, all very, very positive and supportive of the school resource officer program. It's certainly not our intention to do anything to take that program away from our community. We are seeing the positive results. It's providing mentorship opportunities for youth, in some cases at-risk youth, to again provide them with better opportunities so that they can make better life decisions, and those life decisions all often center around opportunities to commit crime, and any time that we can take those opportunities away and provide them with a more positive life, we're happy to do so.
Any other comments on item 138? Member Stewart.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, just to comment as a former educator, I certainly see the value of the program, and I would look forward to the day when we'd have the resources to do a little bit of work, especially with the upper age elementary kids, which are, you know, basically you're talking age 13, 14, 15. And I know resources are always an issue, and time is always an issue, but those kids are at a very formative age, and maybe looking in the future at some sort of even the targeting. There are, you know, classes out there that have kids that are really struggling with behavior issues and whatever, and some connection and positive connection there may turn around kids at a very impressionable age of 12, 13, 14, where they're especially prone to peer pressures and those type of things. Not to take away from anything at the high school age, but you know, just if we're ever looking down the road and if resources become available to somehow make a little bit of inroads with those upper-aged elementary kids, I think we would see similar results that we've achieved in the high school ages as well. So just a comment from my background, and I know when I was a principal, I worked with John Howard Society for some special classes that needed some help and support, and we found some positive results coming from that, and I think that's another opportunity, whether it's Cops and Kids, whether it's school resource, however we can work something out there, it's an area that I think would be a benefit. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I have a comment to make on the school resource officers. I can't fathom why Toronto would cut back on something like this. But then again, that just shows me that when they say Toronto does it, that doesn't mean we have to do it. We are so different than St. Louis, Toronto, and all this, but we're Niagara. And everybody on this board, there's never been anybody on this board that hasn't supported school resource officers, although we have to look at the funding all the time. But we have no intention. We understand education is better than arresting on this type of stuff, so we support it so much. And if we had more money, I'd love to see sponsors for things like this, because I'd love to see an officer in every school just to be with the students and that. But that's a pipe dream maybe, but regardless of that, I just want you to know that we support it fully on this, and if there's any way of being in more schools around the Niagara region, we should. And I come back to the point of when somebody says Toronto does it, doesn't mean we necessarily have to do it on anything. So thank you. Any other items?
Thank you. So I've gone back numerically on this. Item 126, it's not really a comment on that. It's more of a generalized comment on emergency services. And if you would pass on to Sergeant Wiley and Joe Garvey and Brian Ash, job well done in emergency services and emergency task force. Units that are in the background, vitally important to the service, may not get front row, news items. But without these areas, and especially the underwater and some of it because of our marine issues, again, job well done for those officers and what they're doing, and a thank you.
Thank you for those comments, and yeah, I would echo those comments as well. Usually when any of those units are called, it's a bad day, and they quietly are in the background training and preparing for the worst nightmare come true, And when those situations do occur, they step up to the plate each and every time, and we're very, very fortunate to have such a dedicated and highly trained group of officers in that unit, in those collective units within emergency services.
Any other questions on item 126? I do. You have listed 20 arrests. Give me an idea of the type of arrest. I understand impaired, but anything else other than that that you can comment on, Chief? Just for us to have information on what type of arrests you have out there in the waters in the Marine unit.
Superintendent Ash confirms that, but along with that, there are occasions where our Marine unit members are deployed out on the front line with other units to supplement sometimes in their times when they're not in the water, and those arrests could also happen where members of the unit are there.
Thank you for that. Member Ganzel. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, I do on item 121, the Ontario Sex Offender Registry. Pardon me. Chief, the time frame of on a sex offender on a list. If a person gets on a list, are they on it for life, or is it specified by the judge at the time how long you're on the offender registry, or what's the deal?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe it's dependent on the judge, but we'll get a firm answer on that. I think it's depending on the offense as well, so we'll get back to you on a follow-up on that.
Thank you. Then another question I have is, what happens if somebody breaks the rules? For example, if they're supposed to report to the number 1 division or number 2 division every week and they don't?
So there are options for us to submit an application to the court and indicate that they're not complying with the conditions, and there are opportunities to lay additional charges against individuals that are in non-compliance.
Okay, then on behalf of the community, if there's an offense like that, do we get to know it? We probably don't go out of our way to publicize it, but it's public information. If you have somebody living down the street that reports on this, that breaks the rules a few times or one time even, can these people know that the person has broken the rules?
So we don't publicize the names or the addresses of sex offenders. That occurs in other jurisdictions, particularly in the U.S. Anytime any individual is charged with a criminal offense and an information is sworn before the court, it's public information. So that information, it wouldn't, yeah, that's public information. So if there is a media release that goes out to, it would identify that the individual has breached certain conditions. So
I'm sorry to go back and forth like this, but if John Doe is reporting on a sex offender registry list and he's not supposed to do, if he doesn't show up like he should be at the number 1 division and you charge him, how does the person living beside them know that this has happened? Or do they have to research it all the time? I just feel sorry for the people around if a person's breaking the rules and they don't know the rules are being broken. If a person's watching this right now, how do they find that out? I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
So it's a little difficult in that the person living next door may not even be aware that the person is on the sex offender registry. So it's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was
It's not public information. No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on that item? And I believe I have one more, Chief. Nope, I hit it with Member Ganzel. So all those in favor of the consent agenda items? Carried. Thank you. Has the person shown up for the picture yet? May I ask that the easiest way is to walk around with your card is, do you have a cable? Do you have? No, come on right around here to the flag if you don't mind. Whatever's the easiest way. Please come on up for a picture. Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. We'll continue on now with new business. We have item number, item number 142, the City of St. Catharines motion, re-cannabis excise tax revenue. Can I have a mover and seconder on this, please? Member Ganzel, Member Stewart. This is to receive this information. Any comments or questions on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Item number 143, the Versaterm. I'm sorry, Chief.
Hot off the press, just with regards to the sex offender registry. It is determinant on what the judge orders, and depending on the severity of the crime, the judge can order either 10, 20, or lifetime.
And that's not, is that public knowledge? So if a person's living there, they're not told the person's there, I guess they can't find out. They, please, you know
so
where I'm going.
It's not publicized, but the court process, by virtue of how our judicial process works in Canada, is open to the public. So if somebody's in court and it's reported in the media, then it would become public knowledge. But there's no opportunities similar to what there is in the U.S. for us to post on a map, for example, where the locations of somebody who's on the sex offender registry, where they live or where they reside.
Okay, this is me talking personally on this. I'm offended by that, not by what you're saying, the message. If somebody's living down the street from you and he's on a sex offender registry, they don't have the right to find out that person's living there. Is that what I'm hearing? Wow.
So there are opportunities, and we've taken advantage of those opportunities in the past, where somebody is released into the community that poses a substantial risk to the community, where we can, in certain circumstances within the legislation, notify the public of an individual being released into the community.
Okay, thanks for the answer. I don't enjoy the answer on it, but I don't enjoy a lot of things. So, any other comments from members on that? Thank you for that, Chief. Okay, item number 143, the Versaterm Incorporated Records Management System Maintenance and Support Renewal. Mover, Member Ganzel. Seconder, Member Caslin. Comments on this item? I see none. All those in favor? Carried. Should I be moving? No, I won't go in block. And item number 144, E-Just Systems Charge Management System Maintenance and Support Renewal. Member Mover, Member Ganzel, Member Stewart. Comments on this? Member Ganzel.
For you, Chair, just a comment on it. I see the Versaterm is, I think, 1.1% increase. This organization wants 2.2. Going forward, I would recommend some comments to them about, quote, sharpening their pencil. See if we can't get that percentage increase down a little bit.
Through you, Mr. Chair, what I will advise is that with e-ticketing, there has been greater integration using E-Just to assist with disclosure in relation to provincial offense ticketing that occurs. So as a result of that, the service, as well as the region who manage the POA courts within the Niagara region, have seen greater efficiencies as a result of utilizing E-Just. So the additional costs that you see incorporate that additional component of dealing with E-Just for the e-ticketing.
Okay, thank you. So it obviously the cost then is quite justified then, and the increase. So I appreciate that.
Yes, it is. Thanks.
No other questions? All those in favor? Carried. Item number 145, the Trivia Night Fundraising Initiative, Constable Dale Racine Educational Bursary. Mover and seconder, Member Stewart, Member Caslin. Comments or questions? All those in favor? Carried. Then we jump to 147, Special Fund Request, National Peace Officers Memorial Run to Remember. Mover and seconder on this, please. Member Stewart, Member Ganzel. Comments or questions on this? All those in favor? Carried. We go to supplemental item number 148, the information use of service name and logo. This is the supplemental item. A mover and seconder on this item, please. Member Ganzel, Member Stewart. Comments or questions on this? Member Ganzel.
Thank you, and through you. I've seen the program on television. Excellent in some of the cases they've covered. Just find out from them when it will air. Thank you.
We'll do that. Yes, thanks.
Thank you. I guess this is the norm. This has been done before when Deb mentioned it to me that the supplemental item was coming, so we have control over it. How do you control it so that we're not made to look bad dishonestly, if I were that? Okay, no, I just mean, I see the customs shows on TV and that, where some of them are made to look silly on things, but this is a specific case. It doesn't go into personalities and stuff like this. Is this what I'm presuming?
Yeah, so it's a very specific case involving Detective Sergeant Kerry Harrison as the lead investigator of this homicide. So we have control over the information that will be part of the show. It's I think a good news opportunity for us to get some notoriety with regards to the fantastic work that our homicide unit does. In the annual report for homicides, you saw that in the last 5 years, every single one of the 18 homicides that have occurred over the last 5 years have all been solved, and that speaks to the nature of the investigators that work in that unit. And so I think what will be showcased in this show is again the great work that gets done by our homicide unit. I have no concerns. It's a very reputable agency, and would certainly recommend to the board that that you authorize the use of our service crest and logo.
Okay, Ken's telling me to my side it's an excellent show, so I have faith in it. Thank you very much. All those in favor of this? Carried. Now we have some in-camera reports coming public. Items, I'd like to move them in block, please. C108 to C110. Can I have a mover and seconder on this, please? Member Stewart, Member Caslin, comments or questions on these items being moved to public? I see none. All those in favor? Carried. Any new business other than what I'm saying here? Chief, do you have anything else for public?
I have nothing further. Thank you.
That's it for the public agenda. Thank you for coming.